Hello and welcome. You're tuned into Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. I'm Shrishti Sharma and with me, as always, is Cheryl D'Souza. And viewers, this is the show where you get answers for all your stock-related queries. In a short while from now, you will get a chance to connect with us live on the WhatsApp number that will be flashing on the top of the screen. But before that, Cheryl, what a move coming in on the Nifty Back Index, though we are off the day's highest point. But nevertheless, it's always good to see that cheer back on the last street.
Absolutely. A very good morning to you, Shrishti. But it is a divergent move actually coming in the markets today, isn't it? No doubt we scaled fresh record high levels when you talk about Nifty on an intraday basis as well. We opened above that 23,600 mark or thereabouts or so, but we've given up those gains, while Nifty Bank, on the other hand, actually scaled a fresh record high on an intraday basis as well. Good move coming in from Nifty Bank. Take a look at ICICI Bank. That's one of the big major contributors to the gains coming in for Nifty Bank in today's trading session. And also you have the PSU banking in stocks also, PSU bank stocks that are actually participating in this up move coming in for the Nifty Bank as we speak. But yes, the sore point has to be the broader markets because there the cuts are sharper, as well as the Nifty index, which has given up its early morning gains. But let's take a look at what the rest of the market is doing at this point in time. If you look at the market breadth, we did start on a very firm footing when you talk about the market breadth, but doesn't seem to have or held on to at this point in time, because you've seen the market breadth actually shift in the favor of the declines as of now. While on the flip side, you have IndusInd Bank, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Kotak, Axis among the top gainers on the Nifty. We only have a handful of gainers actually. You only have about 7 gainers on the Nifty while we speak, while rest of them are declining in trade, with Titan being the top loser along with Adani Enterprises. LTI Mindtree, Coal India are the other set of losers at this point in time. Let me just quickly take you through the sectoral print then. It is the banking index with PSU banking index that is seeing a shade of green, while all the other sectoral indices are in the negative territory. So yes, right now market is definitely trying to find some ground at this point in time, Shrishti, but Nifty Bank stealing the show.
Well, certainly, and Nifty Bank is also witnessing quite volatile moves after touching a record high level. We did lose some of the earlier gains, but once again, you will see a sharp spike coming in on the Nifty Bank Index in the last 15 minutes or so. But with this, viewers, let's move on. And as you know, that ET now celebrated its 15th anniversary with a bang, with the biggest voices from the India Inc. and the market. We spoke to none other than RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das. So firstly, let's go across and listen what he had to say about the financial market and the roadmap for the housing sector.
Parameters and indicators of our economic, of our Indian economy and our financial sector, they at the moment look very stable. I think SEBI is fully seized of what's happening in the markets, and we have our regular interactions with the SEBI. We are watching all these segments of even the real estate sector, including housing. We are monitoring it. The numbers at times may look very high because, you see, SDFC merger took place last year. So that was not a part of the banking sector assets. That was a part of the NBFC. It was a housing finance institution. The SDFC was a housing finance institution, so that got merged with the SDFC Bank. So therefore, because of the impact of the merger, the growth in the, what you call the real estate sector or housing sector may look high. But if you net it out, net of the impact of SDFC merger, the growth is within, nothing to worry about. But we are monitoring it nonetheless. And a major difference between what is happening in the, now in the real estate or the housing sector in particular, and the position which prevailed, let us say, more than about 10 years ago, is that now you have a RERA. So the RERA is now regulating particularly the housing sector. So the kind of asset bubble which we saw earlier in the housing sector, the paradigm has changed. And from Reserve Bank, we are monitoring it very, very closely, very, very intensively. And at the moment, it is all right. If at some point of time, some action becomes necessary, not just in the real estate sector, but any other sector. The Reserve Bank will definitely act proactively.
And with the rising retail participation in the market, is there a risk of volatility of froth building up? Let's hear out what Rhythm Desai as well as Ramesh Damani had to say with this regard when we spoke to them on an anniversary special.
India real estate is 50, gold is 12, equities is single digits. There's no peak participation. In fact, I don't see that widespread ownership as yet. I think it is going to come now. And don't see it by number of people, see it by the exposure they have. What percentage of their balance sheet is in stocks? Right, we have achieved breadth in the last 7-8 years thanks to a lot of work done by the government, the regulator, the mutual fund industry. Hats off to all of them. They've achieved breadth but not depth. People are not staking more money in, they're just coming in and they're learning about this market. They're opening their accounts, and so we have maybe 10 crore portfolios, or I think 8 or 9 crore PAN numbers that are actively trading stocks in some form or the other. That number can go to 18, but those 9 crore people still don't, 9 crore people still don't have enough exposure.
You don't get rich in a bull market making 20 points on a stock. You get rich in a bull market when the stock goes up 5x, 10x. As you would have noticed from the COVID lows, I can name almost dozens of stocks that are 5x, 10x, sometimes even 20x from the lows. So I do hope the retail investor gets to be in the long-term category as opposed to the trading category, which of course is happening through the SIP route. So it is happening through the SIP route. But individual retail investors, from what I understand at least, is pretty gung-ho on F&O trading, option trading, because of the tax incentives are lined up there. I think that's probably a bit short-sighted of them, but it's a great development. And we're the first time we're going to see that retail investors, domestic investors, and foreign investors who've been selling for the better parts of last year will start entering the Indian market.
Let's actually also hear out what SBI Chairman Dinesh Kumar Khara had to tell us and at the special ET Now Leadership Dialogues 2024. Remember, it was the maiden edition of the Leadership Dialogues. But let's hear out what exactly SBI Chairman had to say on that on the forum.
This is going to be one of the best possible year as far as the economic growth of the economy is concerned. The growth is a function of how the GDP or the macro will look like. And our expectation is that the macro growth should be somewhere in the range of 7.5 to about 8.
All right, but with this, viewers, it's time to slip into a very short break in this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. Don't go anywhere. As we come right back, it's time to take all your stock-related queries. So stay tuned and start writing to us.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now, a show where we get you answers for all of your stock-related query. Remember, viewers, you can write to us on the WhatsApp number that will be flashing on your screen. Do remember, each time you write to us, mention your name, the stock that you're looking to invest in, mention that name as well. And in case you've already purchased the stock, mention the buy price, the quantity, as well as the time horizon. And that way, our experts will be able to help you better. Talking about experts, today we have Kush Bohra, who's joining us on the technicals, while on the fundamentals, we have Shahina Mukadam joining us. A very good morning to you, Shahina, as well as Kush. Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now. And let's kickstart with all the stock-related queries that are actually pouring in, or rather have already poured in. This one is coming from Sendrenath from Hyderabad. And he has about 20,000 shares of Rama Steel, which is purchased at 14.3 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he should go ahead and book loss or wait for it to rebound. And apart from that, he also has Bandhan Bank, 1,200 shares at 220 rupees per share. What's your take, Kush, on both of these counters? He's suffering losses in both of these counters. What's your take now?
Hi Cheryl, hi Shahina. First up, a very good morning. And Cheryl, let me congratulate you, Srishti, not only on the 15th anniversary, but also on the fantastic event, that took place yesterday. I know all the hard work that had gone into it. So happy that I could be a part of it.
Thank you so much for that, Kush. I'm glad that you were a part of it as well, and you could actually get some more insights coming in from the panelists.
Oh, absolutely. A fabulous experience. I would request or urge, all your viewers to actually go and check it out on YouTube, and whenever you're playing, that over and over again. some stellar, personalities and some great insights. With that, let's just come to the stocks now. Rama Steel is actually in a bit of a downturn. That would be an understatement, actually. But there is a base formation attempt at this, 11.5 kind of a level. But I don't see a very big upside coming on it because a lot of the medium to long-term averages are converging around that 12 and a half mark, perhaps even 13. So here, perhaps it'll be a good idea to book your loss and move out. On the other hand, Bandhan Bank, after a stellar downfall, is attempting a recovery, and here you could have hopes of maybe gaining some more ground. So 192 is where you should place your stop loss and brace for a move towards, let's say, 215, and once that is taken out, perhaps a 230 as well. So Bandhan Bank stay put, Rama Steel you'd perhaps want to exit.
Right, so that's the take on both of these counters. Thank you so much, Kush, for your kind words, and thank you so much for being a part of the event. But moving on to the next query then, and Shahina, very good morning to you. Coming to you to have your take on two counters, Tata Power as well as JK Paper, wherein Krishna from Bangalore wants to know that is this a right time to enter any of these stocks at this point after the recent run-up that we have seen? His holding period is for the next 1 to 2 years.
Both the stocks look good at current levels. Tata Power, yes, because they're reducing debt and they have got good expansion plans. And also, I think JK paper industry as a whole is coming back. And I think JK Paper is one of the best picks in that sector. So I think he can add on both at current levels with a medium to longer term, of course, because the market will remain a little bit volatile given the fact that the budget is around the corner.
This was coming from Raghuram. He wants to know about Epigril. Kush, he has 21 shares at a price of 987 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he can add some more to his portfolio as well as Sona BLW, which he's holding at the levels of above 593.
So I think Epigril is a good pick. And what's even better is that he's bought it at a very good rate and holding on to it. While the stock is seeing some sort of a topping out formation, I think it will be a little too early to say that perhaps the best is behind the stock. So I would suggest a trailing stop loss at the 12 90 mark. Hold on to this one. Perhaps after a bit of a consolidation, the stock could continue to move higher. So Epigril is very clearly a hold. Sona Comstar, if it is a trading bet, then my suggestion would be to perhaps take some money off the table. We are seeing some consolidation, at the medium-term averages with a negative bias. So if it does fizzle out, then the stock could actually hit lower levels of 620, perhaps a little lower as well. So Sonacom is an exit, and Epigril you could continue to hold.
Once again, coming to you, Kush, to have your take on Samvardhana Motherson. This counter is also doing pretty well. And Anu from Gurgaon is holding 300 shares at a price of 170 rupees. What is the short-term target on this one? She is looking out for that.
Well, again, stellar run, and I know this because we've been talking about it, for a while, Srishti. I mean, I think even on some of the other shows that we've had together, this talk's been discussed a couple of times over the last few days. So a very stellar move, but I think now it's gone into a zone where the risk-reward ratio may not be favorable for a fresh buy, but for someone holding on, from slightly lower levels, continue to hold. There is momentum, but don't forget to have a stop loss at 174. If that is broken, then the stock could slip lower. It's still a buy on declines, but since you've got it at a lower level, you might want to take some money off the table, if 174 is breached on the lower side.
This one is coming from Basagonda, who's writing to us from Telangana, and he wants to know about Cochin Shipyard that's there in his portfolio, actually, Shahina. And apart from Cochin Shipyard, also has SBI, RVNL and Eris Life Sciences in his portfolio. Do you think all of these are good bets that one should stay put with for the longer term?
Eris Life Science, I am not really tracking closely, but the rest of the all three look good at current levels and look good for a medium to longer term. Valuations have moved up a bit, but I think if you see the order book, for example, Cochin Shipyard that you mentioned is very strong. So I think there for the longer term, it looks good. Also, I think the SBI looks good for the longer term. I believe it's one of the best PSU banks in the space. So, he's picked up good stocks. He can continue to hold for the longer term.
I know. Coming to you for one more query. This one is from Bhardwaj, holding 780 shares of Industar, the one that is in news because of the big block deal. But his buy price is 210 rupees. Now he wants to know, can he go ahead and add more at current market price, since the stock is a little under pressure after that block deal, and he's looking to hold this for the next 2 to 3 years.
When there's such a large block deal, sometimes it's not the best time to buy. But yes, with consolidation happening, Vodafone getting out of it, for the longer term, yes, it is a high dividend paying stock, but please don't buy it right now. You let it settle, maybe relook at it next week or a week after, and then you can buy the stock.
This one is coming in from Naitik Agarwal, who's writing to us from Kanpur. Kush, she wants to know about IOL and SSW, I think Sterling Wilson. He wants to know about these counters, when is the right time to take a fresh entry into these counters?
So IOL CP, I think this stock is consolidating. The momentum could be missing. So if you're looking at a positional bet here, then it's not a bad idea to perhaps wait up a little and buy once 415 or 421 kind of levels are taken out. That is where the near and the medium term averages are converging. So you could see the stock gaining momentum around that level. So perhaps 421 is the level that I'll watch for. Beyond that, I think the momentum will kick in. And from a medium term perspective, that's a good entry point. 480 from there on will be your target. And the stop loss will come in at 385. The other stock,
talk about the next stock, Kush, just before you talk about the next stock, it's Steel Strips Wheels. It's not Sterling and Wilson, my bad.
In fact, Cheryl, that's the one that I had opened because SSWL. We've been tracking this one for a while, so thankfully we had this one open. There's a near-term downtrend for sure, revival underway. So I wouldn't go out and buy now. Just like IOL CP, I'll have a number in mind for this one, and that number is 230. Once that is taken out, I think the recovery will perhaps be on a firmer footing, and the momentum will also be returning to the stock. Beyond 230 is when you want to consider getting into it. Up until then, there will be some selling pressure that will keep playing onto the stock.
All right, moving on then. And Shahina, the next query is coming from Minakshi, and she is asking a query on behalf of her 19-year-old son, who has bought shares of Hindustan Zinc at a price of 401 rupees. So good to see that the young investors are entering the markets. And Shahina, what's your take on Hindustan Zinc? Good stock to keep in the portfolio?
It's a good stock, provided you're holding it for about a year from now, because shorter term, it looks like it will consolidate a bit. But I would believe that the balance sheet is strong and one can continue to hold for the medium to longer term. Definitely, if he's holding it for the longer term, he can look for very good targets. I would say the targets could be close to about 750, 800 rupees from here on. So he should continue to hold for the long term.
All right, this next one is coming in from Atul Saklani, who's writing to us from Dubai. I don't know if you track this counter or no, Kush. It is Sakuma Exports. He wants to know whether he can enter this stock right now for a period of about 6 months or so.
Cheryl, I think one of the beauties of this show is that even as participants in the market who've been for a while, like ourselves, even we get to hear a lot of new names. Sakuma Exports is one of them. I don't have a very active track on this one, honestly, but just going by the chart that I'm seeing right now, there is a fair bit of an uptick, and the stock's taking out the previous high levels. So I think this momentum perhaps could continue. If you have something at a lower level, then continue to hold. There's a gap at 34.50, so that should act as your stop loss. So an interesting chart. Perhaps even I'll study it a bit, after the show.
Kush, coming to you for the next query, Swati wants to have a take on a couple of counters, and I know that amongst them, Kirloskar Oil Engines is something that you have been tracking. But Swati has names like JK Paper, Vedanta, Kirloskar Oil, as well as RCF in mind, and wants you to pick any of the two best names out of these four where she can stay invested for the next 2 years.
Well, Srishti, so you've solved, the 50% of the query, which is, Kirloskar Oil, is certainly a pick. We've been discussing this stock for a very long time now. It's already turned multi-bagger. So that stock very clearly remains a buy. From a near-term perspective, we are looking at 1400, 1450 also coming around. some momentum lost, but I think, on the whole, the setup is very encouraging. If I were to pick, one of the other names, then I think JK Paper is the stock that I will pick. And this is purely on the basis of the momentum, that we are seeing, currently, in the stock. Volumes have picked up. The stock's in a vertical run. So any kind of pullback that you get towards, let's say, 475 should be taken as an opportunity to buy. I think on the upside, you can look at 530. And once that is taken out, 550, as the second target. And, perhaps a 460 kind of zone or 450 kind of zone should act as your stop loss. So JK Paper and Kirloskar Oil.
It's coming from Sangeeta. This one's for you, Shahina. She has inherited 500 shares of Southern Petroleum and 400 shares of Manali Petrochemicals. Wants to know what's the future of these counters. Does it make sense for her to stay put with both of them or look to exit?
Sorry, I don't have a call. I'll pass this question.
All right. What's your take, Kush? Anything that you can spot on the charts for Southern Petro and Manali Petrochemicals, given the fact that Sangeeta has inherited these counters? What sort of a prospect or targets she should keep in mind for both of them?
Well, I mean, it's a fantastic inheritance to have in terms of shares. I think we're getting to a place where, a lot of these shares are getting, inherited along with new participants coming in. I recently heard a 19-year-old query, or at least a query on behalf of them. So kudos, very encouraging sign for equity markets ahead. Manali Petro doing very well, recently broken out. I think from a near-term perspective, you can look at 105 and 112 as the targets. Support comes in at 91. For Southern Petro, the stock is seeing a fair degree of revival. I think now it's safe to say that, the recovery is on a firmer footing. It's crossed its medium-term and the long-term averages and also the resistance zone of 83. So from a near-term perspective, have 92 and 98 as your target, and a support comes in at 80.
All right. Shahina, your take on Sanofi India, where Sudeep from Kochi, who's a long-term investor, wants to know then, is this a good stock and the right entry point to enter afresh in Sanofi India?
It does look good at current levels, but I think it's not, the top pick of mine in the pharmaceutical sector. At this point in time, I think it's better to stick to the larger pharma companies, maybe something like a Cipla. But Sanofi does look good at current levels. If he's entering, he can enter, but you have to hold these stocks for the medium to longer term in pharmaceuticals.
All right, so that's the take coming in on Cipla. But on that note, we slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. When we come back, more stocks to discuss. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Buy Now, Sell Now, and let's keep it going with all your stock-related queries. And the next query that I have, Kush, is coming in from Manjula from Chennai, where she is holding 250 shares of Equitas Bank at an average price of 90 rupees. At what is the target price for the next 3 to 6 months? Is that a hold and exit at this price point?
Actually, it's most definitely a hold because, the stocks actually rebounded quite well, after the drubbing. I think from a 3 to 6 month perspective, 115, and once that is taken out, I think a 122, are very reasonable targets on this one. There is a strong support zone on the stock at just about 100, so that should act as your stop loss, going forward.
Right, this one is coming in from Sagar and he wants a combo view on Jindal Stainless. He's holding about 25,000 shares at a price of 32 rupees per share, actually, Shahina. He wants to know fundamentally, looking at the resurgence in metal cycle, wants to know whether the stock will see an upside given the fact that it has not participated yet, and also wants to know about the stainless steel business growing in India as well as abroad in terms of revenue, margins and volume. So do you see the company doing well going ahead? Do you see prosper much more fundamentally, revenue-wise and the growth-wise, given the fact that if you look at Sagar's buy price has been extremely attractive. I believe he's been holding this for the longest time.
Yeah, actually, the company also has done pretty well in the last year. And given the firm metal prices for the current year, I believe that, he is likely to make better profits going forward, even in the coming 1 year period. And the stock looks good even at current levels. I would suggest he continues to hold and maybe keep a target of something like 860 for the medium to longer term, maybe a year's time. He can keep a stop loss close to about 700 and maybe 750 type of levels.
Take coming in on this one as well. Kush, are you also of similar view for Jindal Stainless?
Absolutely. The stocks had a stellar run, and any kind of dip towards the medium-term averages has been bought into. I do see negative divergences on the daily and the weekly setup, which suggests that perhaps the stock could dip a little. So you might just want to be ready for that. But other than that, the stock is on a very firm footing. I think from a near-term perspective, you can look at 840 and then perhaps an 890, as your targets. But as I said, perhaps there could be a slight dip or the extension of the current dip that the stock is seeing to 760, 750 kind of levels. But I don't think that's too much of a cause of worry.
All right, moving on then. And Shahina, the next query is coming from Binoy, and he wants your take on two companies, any of the stock that you like at this price point for a fresh investment. Patel Engineering as well as Innovators Facade. I'm not sure whether you track these counters, but any take for a long-term investment?
Yeah, these are two small cap companies, and of the two, I would prefer Patel Engineering. Of course, the other one is more related to housing, affordable housing with glass windows. But I would still prefer, based on the balance sheet strength, Patel Engineering. Here, I believe that if you buy it at current levels, you can still look at a target of close to about 80, 85. You can keep a stop loss of 60.
All right, this next one is coming in from our viewer who wants your view actually, Shahina. This one is coming from Ramki, who's writing to us from Delhi. Wants to know about JSW Infra, Polycab and Siemens, wants to invest in these counters for the long terms. Ramki wants to know if the valuations vis-a-vis growth is justified, and if not, then what would be the current levels according to you to enter these counters for the long term?
See, well, stock like Polycab, for example, let's take that first because it had a very volatile last couple of months, but it has bounced back very well. Valuations are expensive. I think for all three, valuations are expensive, which is like, the rest of the market in my view. But if you're looking at the medium to long term, I think the demand is pretty good for all the three, one in metals, one in cables, and I think the last one you mentioned was but I think broadly all three look good. Valuations are expensive, so please bound dips.
All right, that's the view on Polycap India. But moving on, and the next query that I have, Kush, is coming in from Kanak Kothari. Wants your take on two counters. Firstly is Kesoram Industries, where he has bought these shares at a price of 174 rupees, holding 1,500 shares. And he also has Usha Martin, 1,000 in quantity. Buy price is 370 rupees. My profits in both of these names, is that a hold or sell?
So I think Usha Martin is a sell. The stock's seeing a sharp dip, and it could perhaps extend further, closer to buying price. So it'll erode perhaps any kind of gain that he's got at the moment. So Usha Martin, I would suggest exit at the moment. As far as Kesoram Industries goes, I mean, this he can continue to hold. There is a mild round of profit booking that's come into the stock, but if you see the structure, it's pretty strong, comfortably above his buying price. So you'd want to place a trailing stop loss at 189. But other than that, I think you can continue to hold till the stock sustains above this level.
All right. This next one is coming in from Hansraj, who wants to know about JSW Infra, given the fact that he's already seen a good rally in this counter. He wants to know whether he should book out of this one or wait for some more time for a period of about 3 months or so. But recently listed counter, Kush, any chart history that you can talk about in this one?
Sure, Cheryl. From a near-term perspective, I think it's a hold from my end. 290 is a good support zone, so that should act as your stop loss. But other than that, the trajectory is north, and any kind of dip that we've seen has been bought into. So hold with a trailing stop loss of 290.
All right. The next query that I have, Kush, is coming in from the FNO space. Mila from Kerala is holding Nifty Bank 50,500 June expiry put option. His buy price is 450 rupees. Currently, he's saying that it is trading at a 263 rupees. So good to hold on since it's a monthly expiry that he's holding right now, or he should make some changes out here.
What you should do is continue to hold, but have a stop loss at 200. Don't let the entire capital get eroded because of that. Perhaps a little lower as well. while the Bank Nifty is on a very firm footing and it's made a new high today. We've been suggesting a cautiously optimistic outlook. So perhaps a round of profit booking could come in, and that could at least make your call less loss making or perhaps even profitable. So have a stop loss at 200 or probably just under that and continue to hold.
All right, this one's coming from Baiju, who's writing to us from Kolam. Wants to know about Sigachi Industries, has 300 shares at 39 rupees per share. He wants to know whether it's a good stock to stay put with for the longer term. What's your take, Shahina?
I'll pass this question.
All right, Kush, what's your take? Our viewers already making good set of profits on this one.
Then you might as well take some money off the table. It's not going anywhere, so perhaps book profit or exit out of this.
All right, Kush, the next query is coming in on Delta Corp. The stock is in focus on the back of some reports suggesting amendments in the GST rates. While the stock is moving up today, but Sharmishta is already holding 500 shares from a price of 150 rupees. What is the any target for the next 3 months, considering that the stock is quite volatile?
Well, the near-term targets already hit. We were discussing a level of 145, 150 on this one on the back of the news. That target's already hit. So you might want to consider at least exiting partially at cost. The rest, because of the kind of moves that it's seen and the kind of news flow that it's attracting, you could hold with a stop loss of 144. On the upside, if it does continue this momentum, then you could see 165 and 172 kind of levels also on this one. But you might want to still exit. And as you rightly said, this stock does move a lot on news. If it doesn't come through, then might fizzle out also just as quickly.
From B. Behra, writing to us from Odisha, wants to know about Zomato, 1500 shares at a price of 185 rupees per share. Shahina, what's your take coming in on Zomato? Do you think it's advisable for her to add some more also of this stock in the portfolio right now? Do you see a sustained up move in addition to good fundamentals?
I think there could be some short-term consolidation and she could get a good opportunity to buy with small minor dips. But yes, it's a buy and you can buy it for the medium to longer term. I think moving into profits in the in the current year is it would be good for the stock. There may be some bit of consolidation for the short term because Blinkit, there are a lot of investments going in which could affect margins for a bit in the first or second quarter. But it's a buy for the medium to longer term.
All right. The next query that I have, Shahina, is on Quest Corp. Chandrasekharan is holding 1,000 shares. His buy price is 675 rupees. He can hold for the next 1 year, but at this point, should he go ahead and average this particular stock or add more at current market price?
Yeah, Quest Corp he can. Again, there I would say it's better to buy at dips. Business is improving, but I think it's better to buy it at dips and then hold it for the medium term.
Kush, this one is coming in from Sunny. He wants to know about Stovecraft. How is it looking on the charts to you? Because he's holding about 400 shares of this counter in his portfolio. He's not given us the buy price. He wants to know good times ahead and the charts for Stovecraft, and also what sort of a target can he keep in mind right up till Diwali?
Well, the recovery is underway, and what is interesting is that the momentum indicators on the weekly setup have actually given a fresh breakout. So I won't be surprised to see 575, and once that is taken out, perhaps a 610 also on Stovecraft. The recovery, as I said, is firmly underway now. It's actually above a lot of its averages. So continue to hold. From a stop loss perspective, I think there's a good support zone at 510 levels. So that should act as a positional stop loss. But other than that, I think from a 3 to 6 month perspective, 610 is the level to watch for.
All right then. Kush, the next query is specifically for you. Srinath from Chennai has written to us on BDL. He's holding 100 shares. His buy price is 1,500 rupees. Is there a hold, add or sell right now? And what is the short-term target on this particular stock?
Well, thank you, Srinath, for that very pointed query. My only consideration here is that the stock's actually run up quite a lot since it's still above his buying price. It's not a bad idea to book profits here. He's making mild profits. So book profits here. The stock's actually made like a triple top formation around the 1650 level. So any fresh momentum that will come in beyond the 1650 level. And plus there are some negative divergences also. So you might want to take some mild profits off the table right now. If you do get a dip towards, let's say, 1400, 1450 kind of a level, that will be a good re-entry point on the lower side.
All right, so that's the take coming in on those counters. But on that note, actually, we will slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. But Helios has expanded international brand portfolio, and they are bringing the luxury Swiss watchmaker Cheryl to India through an exclusive partnership. My colleague Sumita caught up with Suparna Mitra, who is the CEO of Watches and Wearables segment of Titan. Listen in to what she had to say.
Certainly, the larger metros are where all the trends start, but the mini metros, tier ones, are doing really well. We have a large network of exclusive brand outlets, including Titan World. Between Titan World and Helios, we have about 900 stores, and 170 of them are what we call destination stores, where Titan World, which as a format presents the best of Titan, and Helios, which as a format is presenting the best of international brands, come together under one roof. Many of these 170 stores are in the smaller towns, and they are doing fantastically well.
And when we speak of international brands, are you going to be looking at acquiring more of these?
We are in active talks. We want to really double click on Helios growth by both increasing the number of stores as well as increasing the number of brands, especially the high-end brands. So this is of course Shariol, for which we are very excited about the launch, but we do have plans for introducing another 4 or 5 premium and luxury brands.
By when?
By this year.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. Let's continue taking all of the stock-related queries then. And this one is coming in from Jesna Begum, who's writing to us from Calicut. Wants to know about RVNL as well as IRFC. 4,000 shares each, sitting with a profit of about in excess of about 150% plus is what she's written to us. What's your take, Kush? Should she stay put with them or book profits?
Assuming that she is a medium to a long-term investor, in that case it's not a bad idea to continue with these investments. The near-term consolidation that we are seeing is actually quite healthy, so continue holding on. RVNL on the upside, perhaps a 425 and a 440 is the next level to watch for. 370 is a good stop loss. As far as IRFC is concerned, here the stock could make a move towards 190 and 205. And on the downside, a strong support zone comes in at 160.
All right, moving on to the next query. And Shahina, 2 counters from the GMR Group, GMR Airports as well as GMR Power. Any stock that you like for a fresh entry right now? This query is coming in from Neena Gupta, and she wants to know your take in both of these names.
GMR Airports looks better, though GMR Power is also seeing some momentum. But GMR Exports, I think that's a turnaround type of stock, and we are likely to see better times in terms of numbers, because it's a loss-making company. So things are looking better. So I would say GMR Airports would be the preferred pick between airports and power.
All right, this one is coming from Lakshmanan, who's 55 years old. He's writing to us from Bangalore, and he wants to know about Asian Paints. He's been holding it for the last 3 years in excess of 3 years actually. Shahina, he wants to know whether is it worth selling part portion of Asian Paints and instead look to add another stock?
That's a difficult question because it's a blue chip. At the same time, yes, I think there's a lot of competition coming in the overall sector, paint sector. So I would say that, you should book part profits and switch. But if you're a long-term holder who's not really interested in selling, then you could hold. But otherwise, you could part book.
Shahina, let me quickly have your take on any of the your top recommendations from the railway sector. Sudha wants to know any top bet from this particular sector for a long-term investment.
Which looks good at current levels from the railway sector, and especially with the budget coming in, this of course these sectors look good. And also RVNL that you discussed a little bit earlier with Kush, that also I believe has got a lot of orders, good PSU, and one can buy both.
All right, this one is coming from Harinath, wants to know about IOB holding from the levels of about 76 rupees per share. Kush, 3,000 shares of IOB. Our viewer has purchased this actually in February, wants to know whether to stay put with this one or look to come out of this counter.
Well, it's not really gone anywhere. Plus, it's a very crucial juncture where the near-term averages reside, and it's trying to hold on to this. From a momentum perspective, also there isn't much. So my suggestion would be to exit. Perhaps if you want to consider, you could look at a PNB as an alternative.
All right, Shahina, what's your take on Zomato? Nagraj from Bangalore is holding 1,500 shares from a price of 95 rupees. He's a long-term investor. Your advice for him? And he also has 100 shares of GRSE from a price of 977. So what would you advise on this as well?
GSFC you're talking about?
GRSE.
Right? Okay. So I didn't get the other stock, but Zomato, yes, we discussed, and I think it's a good hold. Garden Reach.
Yeah, Garden.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think all shipping companies are doing well, and Garden Reach is one of them. So yeah, one can hold on to both the stocks.
Gautam wants to know about Glenmark Pharma. Is it a good stock to buy right now, Kush, for a period of about 12 to 18 months?
Well, it is, but I wouldn't go all out on this one in the sense, I will buy this in a staggered manner because it's, at a higher level, but the momentum seems to be flattening out and the volumes are also thinning. So while this is a buy, I would suggest, buy about, 25% of your quantity that you intend to now. And then any kind of dip that you get towards the 1200 mark should be used for, adding further quantities. So Glenmark Pharma from here on is the buy. As far as the targets go, I think 1325 and 1400 are the levels to watch for, perhaps even higher levels, by the way, with the kind of momentum that, some of these names are starting to see. But from a 12 to 18 month perspective, 1400 is a fairly reasonable number. And on the downside, support comes in at 1190.
All right then, but for this viewers, let's start taking all your queries in the rapid fire session. And the first query that I have, Kush, is on TTK Prestige. Mahadevan is holding 500 shares at a price of 1,020 rupees. Better to exit or invest the proceeds in any other name or continue to hold on?
If 3 to 6 months is the kind of time horizon, continue to hold. The losses might perhaps narrow down a little.
All right, this one is coming from Kotaya Naki. Wants to know about HDFC 70 shares. She's a positional trader, bought at the price of around 1,592 rupees per share. What's the exit rate for this one, Kush?
1,700.
All right, Kush, Namandevera wants to have a short-term target on Concor. He's holding 50 shares. His buy price is 1,143 rupees.
First up, you should place a stop loss at 1080. From on the upside, you're looking at an 1160 and 1195 as the target.
Okay, Subramaniam, who's writing to us from Chennai, wants to know about AB Capital. Shahina, 224 rupees is the buy price. Wait for short-term gains or stay put for the longer-term gains as well?
For both short-term as well as longer-term, stay put. It's a hold.
All right, Shahina, the next query is on Federal Bank, wherein Nikhil Sharma is holding 300 shares. His buy price is 153 rupees. Good to book out some profits or continue to hold on for the long term?
Continue to hold for the longer term.
Okay, this one is from Salini from Kerala, wants to know about NLC India. Kush, 125 shares, bought at around 234 rupees per share. Short-term target for this one?
Continue to hold. We're looking at a 255 and a 270 from a near-term perspective. Stop loss at 222.
All right, Shahina, Vidya wants to know, will that be a good move to go ahead and buy Shipping Corporation land and assets right now with the 3 to 4 year investment horizon?
Well, if you want to buy a property stock, better buy a pure property stock. If you want to buy, something in the property, I think DLF looks good at current levels. Prestige also is coming off. I think at dips you can add Prestige also.
All right, so that's the pick coming in the real estate space. On that note, thank you so much, Kush, as well as Shahina, for joining us on the show and sharing your views on the stock-related queries. You'll be amazed to know that we've taken 34 queries in the query segment and some more in the rapid fire. So thank you, viewers, for writing to us, and thank you, experts, for resolving the queries. But with that, we're totally out of time on this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. It's a goodbye from Shrishti, myself, and the team that put the show together.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.